Hello and welcome back to MPB's boot camp for the ACT math portion. I am Ms. Killen here to make sure that you have the best ACT score possible. So let's go ahead and dive into lesson 11. We're looking at questions 31 through 35. So here we go. All right, so the first one, we're looking at question 31, and it says, in triangle ABC, if the measurement of angle A is less than the measurement of angle B, the measurement of angle B is less than the measurement of angle C, what is the correct order in the side lengths? Now, we have to remember that opposite of the smallest angle is the smallest side, and opposite of the largest angle is the largest side. So let's go ahead and draw that and see what we see. So if I have this triangle, all right, and I have A, B, and C, and just for argument's sake, let's say this is the smallest angle. Let me get a better marker. If this is the smallest angle, this is the smallest side. If this is the largest angle, this is the largest side. And if this is in the middle, obviously this is in the middle. So let's go ahead and write that to see how we can note the least angle to the greatest angle. So the least angle is angle A, which is less than angle B, which is less than angle C. All right, so then remember I said that it's opposite of what they are. So angle A is opposite of the side, so that would be side BC, which is less than, so we have our middle one, which is opposite of side AC, so a side AC, which is less than opposite of the large, which would be side AB. So what could we say is our sides from least to greatest? BC, AC, AB. Our answer is going to be C. See how I did that? Opposite side from the angle is small to small, large to large, middle to middle. So there we go. All right, so let's look at our next problem, which is problem 32. I'm going to read it as I erase this. So we have, Juan sells exactly 4 kinds of pies in his bakery. Apple, peach, coconut cream, and, apple pecan, coconut cream, and peach. Of the pies he sold on Thursday, 1/4 were apple, half were pecan, 24 were coconut cream, and 8 were peach. How many pies did LaJuan sell on Thursday? So let's go ahead and write what we know. We know he sold X amount of pies. I know that 1/4 of that X was apple, plus 1/2 of that sold was pecan, plus 24 was the coconut cream, plus we have how many? We have 8 peach. All right, so that's what I get when I make an equation from this problem. Now, what does my question want me to answer? It wants to know how many he sold. So let's go ahead and pretty this equation up, putting like terms together and trying to isolate that variable. So here we go. I have 1/2 plus, 1/4 plus 1/2. Now, we get like denominators and we add, or you plug that into your calculator, whichever one you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull that calculator up. So, hold on just a second. Let me pull it up. All right, let me get the correct. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1/4 plus 1/2. So we do alpha y equals, number 1 in the numerator, 4 in the denominator, plus 1/2. I get 3/4. All right, so I'm going to put this over here. We may need it again. So I have 3/4 x plus, I'm going to put these two numbers together. 24 plus 8 equals 32, and that equals our total. Now, we're not quite sure what that total is yet. So let's go ahead and get those like terms together. Now remember, in front of every variable ever known to man is an understood 1. So I'm going to subtract my 3/4 x here, subtract my 3/4 x here. I have 32 equals 1 minus 3/4. I only have 1/4 left. Still going to have to isolate that variable, so I'm going to divide by my fraction, which is like multiplying by its reciprocal. So x equals, when I plug these two into my calculator, I get 128. So let's see what our answer is. Our answer is J. So it's 128 pies is how much that he sold. Now remember, when we were looking at these, let's make sure that we're understanding what the question is, how we can make an equation or do some type of model to answer the exact equation. Not what we think it is, but what exactly they're asking us to do. So let's go to our next problem while I erase the board. All right, so we have question 33, and it says, in a certain quadrilateral, which we know has 4 sides, 2 opposite angles each measure 3x plus 5 degrees. The other 2 opposite angles measure x plus 3 degrees. What is the value of x? All right, so I'm going to draw a rough sketch of a quadrilateral. So this is not the best, but it is what it is. So then I'm going to show you what my angles look like in this. So we had the opposite was 3x plus 5. And then this one would be 3x plus 5. I'm putting it on the outside so there's not so much and we won't get it mixed up. So, excuse me, the other opposites are x plus 3 and x plus 3. Now, we have to remember what we've learned about quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals inside angles equals what? They equal 360 degrees. So I'm going to put this right here. All right, so I have 2 of these and 2 of these. So I can put those together in a better estimated look. So I've got 2 times 3x plus 5 plus 2 times x plus 3. I can pretty that up even more by having 6x plus 10 plus 2x plus 6 equals 360. Still need to get these like terms together. I'm going to turn down my light so you can see a little better of my marker. Let's put like terms together. 6 plus 2 is 8x, so I'm going to pull it up here, 8x. 10 plus 6 is 16. That still equals my 360. Get my like terms together. 8x equals, let's do this real quick. And I've got 360 minus 16, and I get 344. Divide by that 8. Divide by that 8, and I get x equals 43. Now, have I answered my question? Let's see. What is the value of x? It's 43. So my answer is going to be what? C. Good job. All right. So let's go to my next question while I erase this one. All right. So here we have geometric sequences. Now, usually with the geometric sequences, they give us the formula and we're good to go. But this is a recursive formula through my geometric sequence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a calculator skill for this. And these calculator skills are so helpful not only in ACT, but also in your math courses. So let's go ahead and read this. The first 4 terms of a sequence are shown in the table. The sequence is defined by a sub 1, which is the first term, equals 2, and a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 plus n minus 1 squared for my n has to be greater than or equal to 2. What is the 6th term, a sub 6, of the sequence? So now you could work all this out, and there's a long math. It's very elegant. It's pretty, but the easiest way, since we have a time constraint, is to do that calculator skill. So let me go ahead and pull that calculator back up. All right. So the first thing that you want to do is you're going to have to put your calculator in sequence mode. So what I want us to do is I want us to go to our mode, and you need to come down to where it says function, and you need to scroll over to sequence and press enter. All right. So now that we have our calculator in sequence mode, we need to go ahead and put that sequence into the calculator. So here we go. I'm going to do second quit. Now, to put this sequence in, I need to remember what that recursive equation looked like. So I'm going to write this up here on the board. I have a sub n equals a sub 1 minus, or excuse me, n minus 1 plus n minus 1 squared, all right? And I'm looking for my a sub 6 or my sixth term. So what I need to do is go to my y equals. Now, this n min is the index of our sequence. We want to go one at a time. So that's going to be 1 for right now. Now, this next one, un, that is going to be where I put my formula, telling me I'm looking for the nth term. So I could look for any of them, but that's where I'm going to put my recursive formula. So I'm going to put it just like this. I have to put a u here. So I'm looking at my blue my blue letters, and I find the U. So I'm going to hit second 7, and then I'm going to put in what my sub was. So I'm going to put parentheses N. Now, Miss Killen, how do I put an N in the calculator? Every time I hit that button, it always gives me an X. Well, now that we are in that sequence mode, it's going to go to the sequence using N. So I press N minus 1 parentheses. Now let's finish up over here, plus parentheses n minus 1 squared. All right, so now I also need to tell it what my first term was. My first term is what? Let's see. Let's move this real fast. Put this in the middle. All right, so my first term is 2. So I'm going to put 2 here and enter. Now, before I pull that table to show all of my different terms, I need to tell my table exactly how I want it. So I'm going to set up my table. I'm going to press second and see this table set in blue. I'm going to hit it. I want to set my table for 1. And then my second, the table is going to equal 1, meaning the sequence of 1. So now I'm going to go to my table, which is second graph. And when I go down here to my sixth term, I have 57. So my sixth term in this sequence is going to be 57. So that's a very good skill to have. Now, you have learned in your algebra courses how to put in your arithmetic or your arithmetic sequences. This is yet another way for me to put that geometric sequence in. Ms. Killen, would it work for that algebra sequence? Absolutely. It's a sequence. So you always want to make sure that you have multiple ways to answer these different types of questions. So play around with this, practice, 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 and see if you can get a little bit comfortable with using this sequence mode on your calculator. But you always want to make sure that you go back before your next question and put it back into the function right here. So when you do go back to y equals, it's a function skill. There we go. All right, so we said our answer is 57. So let's go to the next one. So here's 35. It says, on the real number line, how many integers are between negative 65 over 6 and 75 over 2? Now, this is what I would do. Let me erase this. All right, so this is what I would do. Get my notes. All right, so I am going to take negative 65 over 6, and then I'm going to look at 75 over 2. Now, it's asking me how many integers. That tells you something. We have all learned what integers are. So that's going to give me a little bit more clarification of how I'm going to work this. So let's see. I'm going to put this in my calculator, and I'm going to figure out what that fraction is when I have whole or mixed numbers. So I'm going to let me just pull my calculator back up, and I'll do it up here for you. So I may cover myself up here. Okay, so I'm going here, and I want to know what negative 65 over 6 equals. Obviously, it's an irrational number, or no, it's not irrational. It is a repeating number. So I'm going to put negative 10 over 8, 3 repeating. So then if I go to my next integer up, or my closest integer, it's going to be negative 10. So then let's also look at this one. I have 75 over 2. So 75 over 2. And I have 37.5. So I'm going to look at that as 37. Now, how many integers is this? Well, I'm just going to do a subtraction problem. I have 37 minus a negative 10. Now, when I subtract a negative, we've all learned what happens when I subtract a negative. I'm doing what? I'm adding. So I have 37 plus 10, and that's going to be what? 47. Now, remember, I went down one. So now I've got to remember that I have that half. So it should have gone up to a what? Should have gone up to a 38. So then I have to add that one more, and I have an answer of 48. Now, there's multiple ways to do this. You could have gone ahead and rounded this up to 38, because when that 0.5 is, you do round up. So we've got to remember that. Want to make sure that we're understanding how we're looking at these integers on that number line. So that's how we do that. So let me go ahead and pull out my calculator so it will get out of our way. And our next slide shows us, as always, we've got to practice, practice, practice. Now remember that when we have all these different types of math problems, all these different types of concepts, we're having to make sure that we're looking at the concept, how we're going to work them, how we're going to use those calculator skills, how we're going to use those Desmos skills. So, as always, remember, practice, 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 and I am Miss Killen. Have a great day.